In a libertarian world, government would be restricted to keeping the peace. It wouldn't get to bully us around or take our stuff. But that's not the world we live in today, as a new movie explains.
The documentary, Battle for Brooklyn, explains how New York State grabbed 22 acres of other people's property on behalf of a developer who said he'd build a sports arena, 16 skyscrapers, and move the New Jersey Nets basketball team to Brooklyn.
We are going to get the Nets to Brooklyn. If it's the last thing I do.
All of that brings more money into Brooklyn, more pride into Brooklyn, and more employment into Brooklyn.
There were protests.
Everyone's house is in danger. If the developer wants your home, it's his for the taking.
Homes will be taken by force and abusive eminent domain.
We don't want to do. We don't want to do.
Nobody's going to remember how long it took. They're only going to look and see that it was done.
And was it done? Here to answer that is Michael Galinsky, who directed that movie, and one man who fought to keep his home, Daniel Goldstein. So, was it done? What happened?
Well, New York State did take my home and the homes of all my neighbors.
The politicians won.
The politicians won, and then I would say a corrupt system won.
And they win under this law called eminent domain, which means that your home is your castle, except if government says we have a public use.
Right. And I think when we grow up, when I went to elementary school, I heard of eminent domain, and I heard it was for a road, a highway, a hospital, a school, a library. But it's increasingly come to mean for a public use, more tax revenue.
You stayed there while the construction started.
That's right. I felt that the use of eminent domain to give my home, other people's homes, to a private developer for his private profit is just a violation of the Constitution. And I wasn't going to give in to that sort of, bullying by government and by the developer.
And that must have been an interesting time. The movie shows a little bit of that.
There is one apartment that remains in that building free.
My wife and I met as activists. We have a child. We want to teach that child to stand up for one's principles.
So you stood up, but your principles got squashed.
Oh, I think we exposed, just like the Kelo case in New London, Connecticut, we exposed that what government is doing, taking private property for what is really a private benefit, is wrong, and that it is going on, and that eventually, with fights like this and more of them, that it will be stopped and laws will be changed.
Let me explain Kelo. That's an eminent domain case that went to the Supreme Court, as you said, and this court ruled that the government can take people's homes, not just for roads and hospitals, but for private real estate development. A woman named Suzette Kelo had fought to keep her home, but lost. And I went back to her neighborhood 4 years after she lost to look at the wonderful development, but I couldn't find it. The city said they had to tear the houses down because development would happen. Tax revenues, all kinds of cool new things. And yet, this is what they got. No hotel or upscale housing, no conference center, no nothing. Now, in fairness, it was partly the real estate crash that stopped the development. But in the case in Brooklyn, they promised 16 skyscrapers. Is that happening?
But it's all, no, there's nothing being built yet. Now it's going to be 18 acres of parking lot, and parking lots are a condition of blight. So really, they should be able to take it back. But that's what always happens in these cases. In Kelo, as in here, they say, oh, we're doing this for economic development. But there's no guarantee that anything's going to happen. And now they're left with a field and a much bigger hole in their budget.
The town fathers, aren't they smart? And you are an apolitical filmmaker. You had no opinion about this going in.
I came to this not knowing anything really about eminent domain or eminent domain abuse, just simply this highway road thing. What happened was I read about it in the Times, and I thought, this article seems ridiculous. They're saying they're going to build this Garden of Eden, but there's people there, and I knew that because I lived a couple blocks away. So I saw a sign that said, stop the project, and I started the project.
And the project, as they often do, have the in crowd on their side. In this case, they had the politicians. They had, what, Jay-Z?
Right.
And reporters get snowed.
Exactly. Writers get a press release, and they basically print it. They don't ask any questions. In this case, they said...
And it's got excitement, a new stadium.
Yeah, everybody likes news. Everybody likes jobs. There's 15,000 jobs here. Now, what really happens is that's 1,000 jobs a year for 15 years. In reality, there's about 300 jobs there. We just went to Los Angeles. They're facing this thing with the NFL stadium. They promised 6,500 permanent jobs at a stadium. There's like 27 at Yankee Stadium.
Thank you. Daniel Goldstein, Michael Galinsky next. A comedian's view of what America would be like if libertarians were in charge. He knows we're not in charge now.
You're not free in the least. You need a diploma in this country to cut hair.